We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Hey, hello. It is Pod Maverick. It's Josh Bowe. It is just me today. As the Mavericks have an absolutely outrageous game. Luka Doncic scores 73 points, a career high, a Mavericks career high. Mavericks win 148-143. I just finished writing a almost 1,500 word recap. Let's get into it. What a crazy game. What an absolutely wild, historic, nutty game. I don't know if I've ever personally witnessed anything like that. If you're a Mavericks fan, probably the same. We've watched a lot of basketball over the years, at least in a Mavericks uniform. We haven't really seen anything like that before. Of course, those of you who are old enough saw Kobe's 81. And recently this season, Joel Embiid hit the 70-point mark. Karl Anthony Towns hit 60 a while ago, a couple of weeks ago. So we've seen a lot of crazy numbers over the years. And Luka scoring 73 is bananas. I think we all knew that he had it in him. He scored 70 last year. So this isn't terribly shocking. I think, we're going to talk a lot about Luka. I don't know how long I'm going to talk tonight since it's just me, but I just wanted to get, the main thing to get across from this game is the way Luka, and I wrote about this in the recap. Luka handled adversity very well tonight. Clearly, understatement of the century. I think that matters. I know it was against the Atlanta Hawks, but the Mavericks, they needed to win tonight in the worst way. Because of the way the schedule worked and they had that Warriors game postponed, they had to sit on this 3-game losing streak for a long time. They only played 3 games in 11 days. They had about couple of 3 or 4 days off between the loss to the Lakers and then the loss to the Celtics. That's a lot of time to stew on 3 bad losses. And that's a lot of time for us to talk about, what are we going to talk about? Their team's losing. So you're not going to talk about great stuff. The media's not going to talk about good stuff. The team's not going to talk about great stuff because you just lost 3 games, 2 of them by 20 or more. And that matters. Like, the players have to sit on it. The coaches have to sit on it. The staff has to sit on it. The fans have to sit on it. The media has to sit on it. Like, there's just nothing you can do when a team's in a losing streak in terms of trying to talk about something else because the team's losing. And they were bad losses. And it just felt like it kind of came to a heading in that Phoenix game where the whole team just kind of let go of the rope. And the team kind of, they pretty much gave up in the second half. And obviously Luka lost his cool. with the interaction with the fan, the interaction with the media. Like, it was obvious that things were not well. And I think what was really concerning after the end of that Phoenix game was the mood around the team felt like it did at the nadir of last season, like after those back-to-back Hornets losses, where it just wasn't fun. And that's never a place you want to be with an NBA player as good as Luka Doncic. You don't want the game to not feel fun. No basketball team should be bad with a player as good as Luka, as young as Luka. And I think that's why last season was so outrageously disappointing and historically disappointing. You just don't see that happen. So the vibes were not good. The Phoenix loss was bad. They had 2 bad losses before that. And Luka was embarrassed on national TV. I think he understood that when he talked to the NBA TNT crew the next day when he was in the studio to talk about him making the All-Star team, since the NBA, the TNT studio is in Atlanta and the Mavericks are in Atlanta for a game. And that crew asked him about it, and he owned up to it and said, like, he was wrong. It was not right. He lost control. And it was not a good moment for him. So the thing about adversity is it's not about what got you there. It's about how you respond. And I know that's a cliche, and I know that sounds silly, but that's sports. That's pro sports. Like, how do you take a low moment and how do you react to it? Do you fall further down the hole, or do you get up and do you climb out of it? We can't say that the Mavericks have climbed out of the funk that they're in totally with one win against a pretty crappy team, which the Hawks are not a great team and not in a good place, but they had to win. And this was a game where Luka's teammates, aside from Josh Green and Derek Lively, had nothing, brought nothing to the table. Tim Hardaway Jr. played maybe one of the worst games he's played in the Mavericks uniform. They had 0 secondary ball handling, with Exum kind of coming back from his injury and not looking like the Exum that we saw in December. No Kyrie Irving. He got a good performance from Green. He had a good performance from Lively, but offensively, it was up to Luka. And you could tell, this wasn't a thing where he eased into the game. Luka showed from opening tip that they were not going to lose this game. If you remember watching the Dirk years, you guys certainly remember when Dirk was in his prime in the mid-2000s, watching a game that the Mavericks could not lose, and Dirk being in that zone where he had the ball and he was going to take the ball, shove it down the other team's throat, and the other team was not going to win, and the Mavericks were not going to lose that game. This was one of those nights from Luka. He gets to 73. He scored 18 in the first quarter. He sat out the final 2 minutes or so, like the final 147 of the first. And the Mavericks gave up an 11-0 run. And Luka didn't really take a break until a little bit in the fourth quarter, I think. I mean, he barely came off the floor tonight. He played 45 minutes in a 48-minute game. It was clear that he wanted this, and this was going to be a win. Did not talk to the refs, did not complain, did not lollygag back on defense. Hawks had 16 transition points, fast break points, which is a little bit, I think they average 14, so a little bit above their average, but not an outrageous number, and not a number that indicates that Luka was loafing or not getting back on defense. The Mavericks didn't have a good defensive game, but still, Luka was outrageous. 18 in the first, 23 in the second quarter, so 41 in the first half, which is another Mavericks record, most points and a half by any Mavericks player. And then in the second half, the Hawks did everything they could to prevent him from scoring, and Luka still found a way to score 30 points in the second half. The Hawks single coverage, switching, icing the pick and roll, trapping the pick and roll, doubling when he gets to half court, face guarding him away from the ball, doubling him when he got the ball in the backcourt, when the Mavericks would inbound the ball, just to get him to pass the ball out of his hands before he even crossed half court. They did it all, and it didn't matter. Luka made 9 shots at the rim, which is the most he's made in a long time. And if you guys have been keeping track, he has not been getting to the rim a lot. He got to the rim at will. He made 8 3-pointers. When he makes 8 3-pointers, he's pretty much unguardable. And that happened. If he's making his threes, he is an impossible player to guard. He only got to the free throw line 4 times in the first half. And I think what was really fun to see, or encouraging, is he didn't seem flustered by the fact that he only went to the free throw line 4 times, because he went to the rim a bunch. To be fair, I don't think the Hawks were fouling him very much. I think they were just kind of letting him go. But still, that hasn't stopped Luka from complaining to the officials. There was none of that. This was a total 180 response. And yeah, it is against the Hawks. And maybe as this schedule tightens up in the next week, they are playing a murderer's row. They are basically playing all playoff teams for the next 6 or 7 games after this, including the Sixers, including the Bucks. So there's going to be some difficult games coming up. So they're going to need it. So again, the Mavericks aren't out of the woods with the kind of the funk they're in, but they just had to have this win. This was the kind of game where if they lost, you're starting to wonder like what's going on with this season. And Luka prevented it, and it was incredible. I mean, just 25 shots. He made 25 shots. The Mavericks as a team made 51 shots. He made 25 of them. It was just a Herculean, He-Man, like Superman, superhero, however you want to describe it, performance. Only 2 other Mavericks scored in double figures. One was Tim Hardaway, who was 3 of 12 from the floor. The other was Josh Green, who had 21 points, 8 of 12, much, much better. He was really good. One of his best games, might be his best game of the season, funny enough. He was really, really good. But yeah, it was all Luka. He had 10 rebounds, 7 assists, only 4 turnovers, despite the fact that he basically handled the ball from opening tip to the final buzzer. The fact that he only had 4 turnovers while taking 33 shots is pretty remarkable for a guy that's controlling the ball as much as he did, playing 45 minutes. Like, that's almost as outrageous as some of his other numbers. Not as outrageous as 73 points, but only 4 turnovers when you're handling the ball all night for 45 minutes out of a 48-minute game. That's pretty good. That's pretty damn good. So yeah, I think this wasn't an X's and O's game. This was a emotional, gotta have it game. There's certainly things that maybe we could talk about a little bit X's and O's wise, but to me, I'm just not as interested in it. I just wanted to see the disposition of Luka and the disposition of his teammates. Not totally encouraged by how some of his teammates reacted to that Phoenix loss. Encouraged by Josh Green, encouraged by Derek Lively, but outside of that, it was pretty bleak. But Luka's the one that matters. He's the one that's making $200 million. He's the one who's making all-star teams. He is the alpha and omega of this roster, even when Kyrie Irving is healthy. Like it or not, Kyrie Irving fans, like Luka is. This is the show. It's Luka's show, and this team only goes as far as Luka can take them, and he sets the tone. So this was, again, a credible, historic performance that they really needed. We can talk about his teammates later, but I think this is probably a good time. I'm not going to be talking forever since it's just me, but this is a good time to take a little break. For our audio-only listeners, we're going to take a quick ad break because those are very important to us. For those of you listening, please like the stream, subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you are listening on the audio feed, leave a review. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you're listening. It really helps us. And we're going to take a quick break. And I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant when we come right back.
We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Okay, we're back. For our audio-only listeners, you two people, thanks for hanging out with me to going through my plug. So we kind of talked about how awesome Luka was in the first part of the pod, and I teased on Twitter that there's a little bit of this game, not of this game, but there's a reaction to this game that's pissing me off a little bit. And there's certainly, maybe I'm reacting to a loud minority, but to anyone that is mad or frustrated about this result because the Mavericks only beat the Hawks by 5 points and had to scrape by, get a fucking grip. Like, there are only so many moments you have as a fan and as someone that, watches their team to have moments like these. There might not ever be a game like this for the rest of the Mavericks' time on planet Earth as a franchise. This is one of the greatest games you will ever see from an NBA player, and it happened with him wearing a Dallas Mavericks uniform. If your first, or even if it's your second or third takeaway is, well, the defense was pretty bad, and they lost to a really bad Hawks team. You need to get a grip, and you need to get real, and you need to find some joy in your life. Because I did see a little bit. I know, looks like someone in the chat is at a small minority. I'm seeing nothing but praise. Again, this is probably my personal, like, I need to do a better job at managing the noise that I see online. But I definitely saw some people pissed off about this game, and that really, you gotta enjoy this. And I know most of the people are enjoying this. So if you're enjoying this, I'm not trying to reprimand anyone. I'm not trying to subtweet anyone live on a podcast. It's just, you got to take these wins when you can. You got to take these moments when you can, because I wrote this in the recap. 20 years from now, you are not going to remember what the Mavericks gave away to trade for Grant Williams. You're not going to remember how much money the Mavericks gave JaVale McGee. You're not going to remember that the Mavericks cut JaVale McGee. You're not going to remember the Christian Wood trade. You're not going to remember the contract that Tim Hardaway Jr. got. What you're going to remember is this game. You're going to remember 73 damn points from Luka Doncic, one of the greatest NBA performances we've seen ever. You're not going to think about anything else. Like, you're not going to tell your friends if you're in your 20s, when you're reminiscing with friends in your 40s or 50s, if you have kids, if they have kids, when you're a grandparent, and you tell stories about Luka and you talk about this game, you're gonna remember Luka scoring 73. You're not gonna remember the minutia of how the roster got built. If you do, then I'm sorry. Like, you gotta let go. So, as bad as it was the last 3 days, and I'm not trying to flip the script and say, like, I think Luka deserved a lot of the criticism he got from that Phoenix game. It was a tough look. It was a bad look. The team's played like shit for the last week. I get it. Do not try to construe this as, excusing the Mavericks' performance over the previous 11 days. But you got to take these games and hold on to them, because that's what you're going to remember. You're not going to remember all the other bullshit. So, thanks for letting me get on my high horse a little bit. I hate doing that. And I know, I'm just going to say it again, most people are loving that they saw what they got to see. And the people that I'm talking about are a loud minority that not everyone's seeing. So it's probably not best to give that group of people oxygen, the people that are disappointed that mad that the Mavericks didn't get this game, didn't blow out this game. So that's maybe on me. So, I'll try to do better. I know it's not best to give those takes the light of day or even acknowledge them. But that just frustrated me a lot. But yeah, Luka scored 73. So we talked a lot about Luka. So I feel like before we go, because I'm kind of running out of steam, I think it is worth acknowledging, Josh Green playing one of his best games of the season. I think it's absolutely hilarious that Josh Green is like one of the weirdest players I've ever seen. Because this is a guy that can go like 3 games and score 8 points across 3 games. And then all of a sudden tonight, he's in the corner doing jab step spot up threes, like triple threat position, not immediate catch and shoot, like catching the ball in the corner, jab step, triple threat position, rising up and firing. And like, this is a guy that can like not score any points for like 3 days. And it's bizarre. Like, the way that his talent level, not his talent level, he has his talent, but the way that it fluctuates in terms of revealing itself, it's outrageous. It's crazy. Now, to be fair to Josh, he has had a couple of better games, even with the Mavericks going through this little rough patch. He had 18 against the Knicks, 13 against New Orleans in a win. Even the Boston game, he had 14. So he is playing better defensively. He's still a little bit up and down, but maybe they have found something. Him in the starting lineup seems to work a little bit better. I think Jason Kidd addressed, Exum's coming off the bench, and originally Exum was going to start. I think he's kind of riding Josh with these good performances. And hey, you can't knock it. Just keep him in the starting lineup as long as he's going to keep doing this stuff. But that was really fun to see. And then Derek Lively, who had one of the best 9-point games I've seen from a Mavericks big man in some time. 4 blocks, a steal, 4 assists, 11 rebounds. Filled up the stat sheet. Didn't score a lot because the Hawks didn't really give him room to operate. I mean, really, even when the Hawks started doubling Luka late in the fourth quarter, they were not doubling off of Lively's man. They were doubling off of Tim Hardaway Jr.'s man, because why wouldn't you with how Hardaway was playing? I thought Lively's defense was outstanding in the fourth quarter. He had some really key blocks. I thought he held his own. I think the Mavericks, it's weird to praise a player's defense when a team gives up 143 points, but really that was because of bad containment of ball handlers, bad giving up of dribble penetration, not fighting over screens. I thought Lively did a really good job with the hand he was presented. I thought he had a lot of tough situations he had to guard because the Mavericks were giving up line drives right to the rim out of pick and rolls all night. They were giving so much space to the guards. They were not fighting over screens very well. They were not keeping their man in front of them, and there's only so much a rim protector can do when you get these kind of uncontested driving lanes straight at you for 48 minutes. So I thought he did a really good job. He had some huge blocks in the fourth quarter, and I thought his presence helped Luka Doncic, carry this team home across the finish line, which is important. And it was doubly important because no Dwight Powell, no Maxi Kleber tonight. That meant Lively was he had to do it. He played 28 minutes. He had 5 fouls. He did pick up some fouls, so he probably couldn't play as many minutes as he wanted. But the backup bigs, it was Rashawn Holmes, who didn't do too much in his 14 minutes, had a couple of rebounds, had 4 points, but team did not look great when he was on the floor. And that was it. They played a little Grant Williams at the 5, but Lively had to be that guy tonight. Like, he had to stay on the floor. He did mostly. Again, 5 fouls, not great, but still played 28 minutes, 4 blocks, was a difference maker. And that's really all you could ask for from your 19-year-old rookie. So I thought that, seeing the way those two played is encouraging for the Mavericks to go forward. Now, this isn't not being a negative Nancy, not being a Debbie Downer. This is one of the best nights in Mavericks history. Everyone is going to remember Luka's performance. It was seriously incredible. It's going to get harder for the Mavericks. Here are the next few games to take us to February 10th. Home Sacramento, home Orlando, road Minnesota, home Milwaukee, road Philadelphia, road Brooklyn, road New York, home Oklahoma City. That's a rough stretch of games. And considering that the Mavericks have mostly won games against under 500 teams, and they've been very, very bad against teams that are above 500, I understand the concern. And that's why this game was so important. They had to win this game. And that's why I think Doncic's response to the Phoenix loss is so important, because I don't think he is, there's a lot of season left, but it was just they're not going to go down quietly right now. So it was incredible to see. But the Maverick, it's not cutting time for this team. I don't know when Kyrie Irving's coming back. Don't know when Maxi Kleber's coming back. They need to survive. Sacramento, feel pretty good about their chances against Sacramento and Orlando, because those are 2 winning teams, with teams that have some serious flaws. But man, Minnesota, Milwaukee, Philadelphia in a row, then New York and Oklahoma City. That's a tough stretch. That's a tough 5 out of 6 games to be against teams that are legitimate title contenders, which Minnesota, Milwaukee, Philadelphia absolutely are. Those are 3 of the best 5 or 6 teams in the NBA. New York and Oklahoma City on, again, like 2 of the better teams in the NBA. Oklahoma City's near the top of the West. And the Knicks, since the OG Anunoby trade, they look like contenders. So the Mavericks have to figure some things out for sure. They cannot rely on Luka Doncic scoring 73 points every night. But hey, at least we saw Luka will give it to him, and my hope is that the way Luka showed tonight, that he is ready for this stretch, and we will see. We will know what the Mavericks are made of by the time we get to that after that February 10th game against Oklahoma City. We will know if this Mavericks team is for real. We will know if they are a solid playoff team. We will know if we have concerns about them missing the playoffs entirely. We're going to learn a lot. They've been able to get by a little bit because they have played so many crappy teams this season. They've played Portland already 4 times. They've played San Antonio twice. They've played Charlotte and Washington and Memphis a bunch of times. They've already played Brooklyn once. It's time to play the big boys. And let me implore, this is the fun part to me. Like, it is fun to beat Portland by 30 points. It is fun for Luka to drop 73 against the Atlanta Hawks. But it's also fun to watch the Mavericks play against the best in the league and kind of see where they are, like a measuring stick performance, because that's what it's all about. Like, we know with Luka, obviously they need to get back to the playoffs after last season. So, but I want to see how Luka and how this team responds against the best teams in the league. I don't want to see how they respond. For the most part, tonight they needed to respond. It didn't matter who the opponent was. But for the most part, I don't care how many points they beat Portland by. I don't care how many times they beat Memphis. I don't care if they look good against Charlotte. I don't care if they look good against the Spurs. It's good for them to win those games, absolutely. But this is fun. Like, it's fun to watch them against good teams, win or lose. If they're competitive, don't get too discouraged because they are playing a really tough schedule. Kirk is here because he is, of course, he is in the stream from the Children's Hospital in Plano. We're all thinking of you, Kirk. Thank you for letting us know that you're doing all right. He's been talking to us in Slack. We feel like things are going to be okay with him and his newborn. But of course, we always hope for the best, and it's good to see Kirk in here. So we will talk. Me and Kirk. Hopefully, we will talk next time. That will be against Sacramento. Mavericks get to come home, which is nice. Try to pick up a home win. So we will talk to you guys. Oh boy, it's tomorrow. It's a back-to-back. I don't know if Luka's playing tomorrow. He played 45 minutes. If Luka plays tomorrow and the Mavericks win and he drops like 30 or 40, then we know he is well behind his issues from that Phoenix game. So we'll see. We'll be back right tomorrow night. Maybe Kirk will be back with me, but I should be back here as well. So thanks for joining me on a solo show. I thought I had some fun. Hope to see Kirk back and hope everything's okay. But hey, glad you guys were here. Glad you guys got to witness history. Glad you guys got to have a lot of fun. Again, this is Josh Bowe for Pod Maverick. The Mavericks beat the Atlanta Hawks 148-143. Luka Doncic scores a career and Mavericks franchise high 73 points. I'm still not going to get over that for a little bit. It's going to look so weird in the box score for his game log, like 73 damn points. That's a lot. That's a lot of points. That was pretty cool. That was pretty fun. So for Pod Maverick, for even MavsMoneyball.com, go check our site. We're going to have so much good stuff on the site. Hope you check it out. I'll talk to you guys later. This is Josh Bowe for Pod Maverick. You guys stay safe. Enjoy your Friday night. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.